as a credential evaluator, I tend to, I receive people's documents, and I work for ENIC-NARIC, so that's the UK recognition centre, and it's providing comparisons for national overseas qualifications so that employers or institutions in the UK can understand at what level they would sit in the UK education framework. Usually what we ask for from applicants who want a statement of comparability, we would ask for the final certificate and the full transcript for their awards. With refugees who do not have the full documentation, we need to assess whether they have the award, and it would be based on questions about their awards. And so we can kind of reconstruct what they have. Often they'll have partial documentation, so most of the cases that we have seen so far had something. They might have had a graduation statement but no transcript. So it's kind of using our knowledge of the system of education of the country to ask questions about modules studied, about the university, checking the institution is accredited. It's kind of making up the details that you're missing through questions, and then cross-checking that things make sense and are convincing. So we would decide, there's 2 credential evaluators who conduct every interview, and basically if we are sure that the applicant or the candidate does hold the qualification, even if they don't have the usual documentation which any of our centres would usually ask for, then we'll issue the qualification passport. If we're not sure, then we won't issue it. We have a discussion afterwards about if there's any questions that we're not sure of. The main difficulty was, for me, was interviewing applicants who were not Syrian, because I was prepared for the Syrian education system, and the language obviously is Arabic. But we did some of the interviews we did in English, and it was an issue with a few of the applicants who were Afghan. That there's a lot less that you can check. There's we didn't have the language, so that was an issue. Difficulties. It was actually, I think, in some ways easier than I thought that it was going to be. Most people did have some documentation which really helped, even a student card or graduation statements. People had photographs of them if they didn't have the actual documents. I've learned that when interviewing people about qualifications, when they do not hold the documents that we're used to using, there's kind of like, you need a much more detailed knowledge of the system. We were lucky in that we had an extremely experienced credential evaluator with us, but it's kind of not just knowing the system of education as it is in a regular stream, but knowing kind of lots of different kinds of education that people might have, different kinds of education for mature students. It's kind of also knowing the situation on the ground and how the war has affected education in the country, and for example, flows of students from one institution to another, and this kind of information. It's kind of, so I sort of learned that the knowledge that you need is much more comprehensive than knowing the general system of education. So that's something to improve upon.